Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's your boy Three Stacks in this thing, baby, representing Team Kings of Games. All right, so today I'm coming at you guys with an update on Orcust or Orcust, however you guys want to pronounce it. So this deck got a pretty huge boost, and it's not like a stretch, it's not a hype, it's not an exaggeration. This deck got a pretty huge boost with Rusty coming off the ban list. It's a little bit reminiscent of how the deck was prior to like Summon Sork, Rusty ban. And then Mermaid eventually got hit too, and then this deck became just a little bit too fair. I don't know if people can even agree with that. Like, I know people like fair, but I think this deck became a little bit too fair. Like once all those powerful cards got hit, and then your combos became way more fragile than they used to be. Because I mean, back in the day, like you could combo in so many different ways. Like especially with Harpor actually existing, like you could play through Ash and Valor in the same turn and keep comboing, because Nightmare Mermaid was just that good of a card, and you would use it to discard Harpor, and it was just like, where do you hand trap here? You know, like the deck ceiling was way higher when Harp was at 3, when we had Mermaid, we had Summon Sork, and like now that we have Rusty, at least we have like one of the 3 really, really powerful links that this deck used to use. Because like back then, Nightmare Mermaid like resulted in like you utilizing Summon Sword and Rusty, and also like you ended up going into like Azathoth and stuff like that. Now you're doing something a bit more degenerate. You are summoning VFD, which I think it's better than Azathoth just because it protects you from getting OTK'd. And that in itself is just really good. And changing attributes also stops your opponent from summoning certain link monsters. Certain monsters can't come out, etc. Like Rusty himself, requires like actually all darks. And if you call light, you just can't summon him. So like the fact that this deck has combos where you can set up Rusty with VFD via Babel, so that you can summon Dean, get a pop, get a send, and summon VFD, is just like really, really strong by itself. And the fact that you have like Fogblade and other cards in that, this deck's ceiling is just really high right now. Like I think it's definitely like at least considerably tier 2. It's not just gonna be Rogue or everything else. This deck is definitely good enough. It has like now, because of Rusty, like its 1 card starters are even more powerful. If that makes sense, like Girsu does more now than he used to do, because now at the end of the combo, normally you would just like off of Girsu you would have like standard Orcust shenanigans, nothing broken, everything was balanced and fair. But now, Girsu plus an extender can get you to like Rusty, VFD, like Fogblade, and also Dragoon of the Red Eyes. So you have like Omni Negate, Fogblade, VFD, a pop off Rusty, a send off Ding, and that's just like 1, 2, 3, 4. Like I think it's like 5 interruptions or something off of just Girsu and extender. So now you have like dang near auto win boards where like if your opponent doesn't have Dark Ruler no more plus Pankratops, or like Cosmic Cyclone in the standby plus Droplets, like they can't stop the combo, and they just end up getting hit by like VFD with a Dragoon to back it up. I mean, like Cosmic Cyclone plus Droplets and Dark Ruler no more plus Pankratops are very, very situational. I guess another cool thing would be Lava Golem, because what you want to do is take care of both the VFD and also the Dragoon. But actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think that Dark Ruler no more Pankratops would necessarily work. Because you have to literally wait for your opponent to summon the Dingirsu. Yeah, I think that's a problem. It's like if you summon Dingirsu, you can use his effect to send the Pankratops, now that I think about it. And they'd have to chain Pankratops to pop, and you could chain the rank up. So never mind, I take that back. So long story short, it's really hard to stop it from happening. It's like you need hand traps, because once you get to the point where the combo resolves, like it's just really, really hard. Not impossible, but it gets very difficult. And the fact that Orcust can do stuff like this now versus what they're doing before, it was just like I said, it was just too fair. Like I understand fair decks are cool, but that was just way too fair, way too linear, and very like just it wasn't sturdy, it wasn't resilient. It was very fragile sometimes because Orcust already have inherent consistency issues. With no harp, it's kind of hard. I mean, you do have 1 card starters like Armageddon, Scrap, and Girsu, and like Rhoda, so you have like 8 1-card starters. You do have dangers for extenders, so that way if Girsu or Scrap Recycler get hand trapped through like not Gamma but like Ash, Imperm, or Valor, you can still combo through that. But it's like still like the deck is just its ceiling is not the same. So like right now, what I'm saying is like this is tier 2 for sure. So for the list, I am playing Rosenix. So Rosenix is here, so that Scrap Recycler can be a one-card combo. Otherwise, you're forced to result in like always drawing extenders. Otherwise, all Scrap Recycler is going to do by himself, if you don't play Rosenix, is sit Nightmare, and that's not really that strong compared to the full combo off Scrap Recycler. And you can actually just pop the Wyvern, so you don't need a card set. You can just pop the Wyvern, and then you can go into Leap, use Leap's effects, set World Legacy Succession, bring back the Golem, use the Golem, bring back Recycler, and then you'll have Leap, Recycler, Golem, and that's just really, really powerful. So yeah, it's like really strong. That's why Rosenix, even though it's a brick, it's worth playing. So like that's the thing with Orcust, why I meant like it has its consistency issues, because there are certain cards that if you want your ceiling to be high, you have to play high risk, low risk, high reward cards. Because since it's a one of, there's a lower risk of drawing it. And as you guys can see, that's my another good reasoning for playing more than 40. Because when you play a higher count, you have a lower odds of opening one ofs, which also means your one of bricks, there's a lower probability of drawing them. So it's funny that people would say like 40 is more consistent, but with the deck like Orcust, more than 40 means you draw your bricks less, which means it's more consistent. I know it sounds so weird to say. I play 4 dangers. These allow you to combo through Ash, Veiler, or Imperm via Girsu and Recycler. With Girsu, it's better if they Ash it because you can still generate tokens and then use your danger. So like it's a lot better. But if they Veiler him, all you can do is literally summon like Galatea ending, which kind of sucks. But at least like with Galatea, you can like do like link cross plays and then like bring back Link Karibo, etc. And it becomes pretty nice at that point because now you can use the danger, you could use the Link Cross, the Link Karibo to go into Barricade and use the danger to go into Rusty. So if your opponent Veilers or Imperms Girsu and you have a danger, you can still make Rusty through that. That's why I like the dangers. You just have to know what you're doing and use your cards properly in sequence. Save your extenders. Don't use them early. One Grepher. Grepher is better than Armageddon Knight because you don't have to normal him. Like, you could get an Orcust card out of your hand, and then when you special him, send another one. Like, Grepher Nessie is still one of the best plays ever, even though they're one-ups. Triple Girsu, this card is so powerful right now. Oh my goodness, this card is just so good. Like, when this card resolves, and your opponent doesn't have a hand trap, they have to have, like, a very, very specific combination of cards to stop, like, the VFD and the Dragoon play. My wife is calling me. Yes, my love.
Hi.
Hey, what's going on?
What do you want to eat for dinner? I just want to go to the store and get something.
I'll cook something. Let me check and just get something out the freezer and defrost it.
Because I don't even think there's really anything in the freezer.
No, there is.
Like what?
I'll probably just pull out like some chicken or some steak or something. I don't know, like some beef. Make some tacos or something. But let me I'm doing a video right now, my love. I'll go check.
Tacos.
No tacos?
I'll go to the store and get the meat fresh. So whatever we need, like chicken or whatever you want to make. What do you want to make tonight?
I mean, I'm not really particular for anything. We can have anything you want.
Okay, my love. I'll let you go. Alright.
Alright, babe.
Alright. Love you.
I love you too. Oh, dang. Alright. My bad, you guys. My wife was calling me. She's just asking about dinner. Yeah, Girsu is really strong. Like I was saying, this card's crazy. And also, like, when you have the extenders and everything, this card forces out Gamma and Imperm. Because, like, if they don't, it's correct to stop this card because it's so powerful, like, they won't be able to use it anymore, which is, like, really, really cool. So, like, that's, like, another cool interaction. Like, Girsu also makes your opponent have to use, like, their battle phase to basically Lightning Storm or evenly match you. They have to crash the token, so it makes them throw their battle phase. So this card also plays around Lightning Storm evenly, and top deck Imperms and top deck Gammas they can't use now. So Girsu's like a very high ceiling card. Next up, for hand traps I play Nib, Gamma, and Imperm. What I like about Nib specifically in Orcust is it has a really clutch interaction via Babel, because when you reveal Nib when your opponent hits 5 summons, which it's very unlikely for them to do that under VFD, Dragoon, Fogblade. But I mean, you know, if they could spam, they could spam. When you reveal Nibiru, you can chain an Orcust effect like Nightmare or Skeleton, and that puts you under the restriction where you can't special summon monsters except darts. So what happens is Nibiru is forced to resolve as much as it possibly can. So what Nibiru becomes is a flat out board wipe that doesn't target or destroy, and you keep it in your hand. So in Orcust, unlike most decks, I think Orcust and Eldritch are some of the few decks that can pull this off. Once you draw one Nibiru, you just keep using that same one, because you keep revealing it, and since it can't summon itself, it stays in your hand. and that one Nibiru, you use it for the rest of the duel and keep doing that interaction. So like Nibiru is actually really fire in this deck. It's really good to main deck. I think that every Orcust player should main it just because you can do that. You can have one Nibiru turn into a second, a third, a fourth, however many times you need to use it. Keep chaining Orcust and do that play, and you keep it in your hand. And now, like, the fear that your opponent knows you still have it and you could use it again, it makes them play really awkward, and sometimes they just can't do it. So, funny enough, even if they play through Nibiru, like, you still have another one in hand anyways. And, like, obviously, you know, like, you just chain. The best play to do when you do the Nibiru play is chain Nightmare to send Skeleton. So that way, after you resolve Nibiru, if your opponent can keep playing through it, you use Skeleton to summon Ding to send another card. Which is like super crucial. And for recovery plays, you summon Galatea, use her effect to set Crescendo, so when you start your turn off, you have a Crescendo to protect you. That's like really cool. Or set like Return. And like Gamma's just like super high impact in this deck, as well as Imperm. These are like the best hand traps against combo decks. Ash and Valor and Ogre. I think Ogre's probably the next best because like Ogre is good against Infernobles and Dragon Links, and those are the combo decks you want to be looking out for. And Nibiru and Gamma and Imperm have like high impact too. Imperm might not end their turn, but it plays around talents, and it's one of the few hand traps you can draw as your 6th card and still use it. So for the Orcust, like I said, triple Girsu, triple Nightmare, double Skeletor, and then like the one Bombard. Just the one of. I used to play Borreload Savage because like this was a tuner, and you would use like Nessie or Dogman or Orcust Nightmare in my old list because I played Orcust for years and I have so many lists of them. And you would go into Savage. In fact, back in the day, Nightmare Mermaid was that combo that got you to Savage plus like Crescendo and stuff like that. So you just got like a really big combo off of just like resolving Nightmare Mermaid. That card was just like GG. Like even with the PK variant back in the day, any 2 monsters make combo. Nightmare Mermaid would get you like Crescendo double Fog Blade, which is like so freaking powerful. And then besides the Orcust, the hand traps, I do play the scrap package. I think Golem is worth it. Some people just don't like Golem, but then Recycler doesn't do enough by itself. Then at that point, Girsu is going to be better because all Recycler is going to do is just get 1 Foolish. And I feel like, okay, that's fine. 1 Foolish is good. I mean, you could still play Wyvern, truth be told, without Golem because you can pop Recycler. And let me just make sure because I'm pretty sure Scrap Wyvern, yeah, you target Scrap if then destroy 1 card, blah blah blah. If another face up is destroyed while you control this, you can special 1 Scrap monster. Let me make sure it's not with a different name. I just want to confirm that I'm correct in this play. Yep. So you can still pop Recycler and summon Recycler. It's a win effect, and since it's going to happen last, it'll get summoned. So you could still just do Recycler for Recycler, playing Rosenix, and you can cut Golem. But Golem increases your ceiling, like, I feel like, I don't want to say tenfold, but just way more, just by playing it. That's what I meant in this profile, but like high risk, high reward. But since the reward is higher than the risk, and the risk is very low because they're one of, so it doesn't mean you're going to draw them literally every time. I think it's worth it, in my personal opinion. I just think this is the best 1-card combo in the deck. It's better than Girsu. It does more. And then, like, a couple PKs. I played 2 Cloak, 1 Boots. You definitely want to play more than one of each, because, like, you want to resolve Rusty a second time at times. And then also, if you ever hard draw Cloak, and you can't send it from your deck to your grave off Rusty, it becomes way harder to make Verde Anaconda Dragoon, because you normally use the Cloak to get access to the Boots. And you use the Boots in turn to then get access to your Rank of Magic launch. When you're not doing like VFD plays, you can just use the, or when you don't really need the extender like that, you can just use the Cloak to actually get access to Rank of Magic launch. But also at the same time, you could just set it off of Rusty anyways. So ultimately, by playing 1 Cloak and when you draw, you can't really make Verde. So that's why I like the 2-1 ratio. And then also, like, because your normal combo burns through both of these, having a second target in deck makes it to where Rusty can resolve at least another time. And that is pretty relevant, like, just having that. So I like the 2-1 ratio. 2 Wands, I should have included that with the Orcust cards. I think 2 is correct, the same reasoning behind the PKs. You draw it and you can't send it off Nightmare. Even though it's 50, you still gotta be ready. Certain one of the yeah, it's fine when you draw them, but then other ones, when you draw them, some of your engine just can't be played. Like Golem is fine to draw because you can still resolve Recycler. Rosenix is still fine to draw because you can still resolve Recycler. You know what I'm saying? But like when you resolve, like when you draw a wand, you can't send it off of Nightmare now, and that's big. So now you have no choice but to make Barricade Blocker and discard this. And at that, it just makes things really convoluted for you. 3 more vanillas for Verde and for Gamma. Called by the Grave, it's a one-up, but it's really good. Foolish is an extender. Then I play Babel. This card's going to catch a lot of people off guard, but I've always had respect for Einsatz. I don't think Orcust players respect this card enough, and I don't think that you're a bad Orcust player if you don't play this. I just think that you don't really... I think people's confidence might be too high for not playing this to think that you won't need this card. Because, like, when you get hand trapped and the only thing you can do is make Galatea, but it's just like you just can't do much more. Like, without any extender, you can't do, like, Link Cross into Rusty. Because, like, you'll still have only Link Cross plus, like, Link Karibo in your token, and you can't link with that token. And you can only special Link Karibo like that once. So, like, you won't be able to do much. But, like, Galatea by herself, you can either get Crescendo and just pray your opponent doesn't kill her before you can activate it, which makes this a blank. Or what I like to do is get Einsatz. This card's really broken for the grind, and Orcust are a deck that normally can't grind like that, if that makes sense. So what this does is every time your opponent summons, normal or special, you'll be able to Foolish an Orcust or Will Legacy monster from your hand or your deck, and you can either send it to your graveyard or you can banish it. You can do either or. And that's every time your opponent summons. It's a hard once per turn, but every time they make a play, you get a play. Don't you love that? Every time they make a play, you get a play. So this also makes it to where, like, if you're a combo, you only got Nightmare, and, like, you want access to something else, like, for a follow-up, because you'll normally use Nightmare for Skelly, then you can dump Wand also, so that now, like, no matter what happens, even if Ding has to send and not attach, and then that means you wouldn't normally have a follow-up. That's why sometimes you have to go Skeleton for Ding, use Ding to attach and pop him off Rusty to protect him, just to get Skelly back in grave so you can still do the VFD play. But this makes it to where you don't have to do that awkward play. You can do the send off Ding, because Einsatz gives you follow-ups all the time. Like, this card keeps you in the game where you otherwise would have to gamble on Crescendo. And this only resolves that once, and that's it. It's one and done. But Einsatz has the most longevity out of all the Orcust cards because it lasts way longer and it gets you more plays, like play after play after play. I love this card. I don't think that Orcust players should not play this. I think they should all main it. But I don't know. Like, I'm just different from, like, other duelists, I guess. They just don't think that way. But I love this card. It's so good. And then 3 returns. Then I play the Fusion, the Rhoda, the Rank Up, and then I also play a Succession for Lieb. Lieb also can out Dragoon because you can link it in the Link Cross and chain block with it and then just get rid of Dragoon, which is, like, really cool. Because, like, you can bait Dragoon, but, like, what if Dragoon negates your Orcust play and now you can't summon Ding? Because, like, Orcust can out Dragoon pretty easily if they can bait him first and then do an Orcust play. But if they hold the Dragoon for the Orcust play, now, like, if you can't summon Gal, it will kind of suck. Like, for whatever reason, but, like, Lieb, as long as you have a War Legacy card, it only takes 2 monsters, so you can even use just Dangers in a random, and still out it. So that's just, like, one interaction, like, it just came to mind because I saw my Succession. This card's just really, really good, like, just the Scrap Recycler play, bring back anything is just extremely relevant. Triple Imperm, I already talked about hand traps, Crescendo, and Double Fog Blade. These are interruptions that play around Dark Roller no more in Droplets, so I think these are extremely valuable. But Babel is always going to be the superior play to start off with. Crescendo is the follow-up that you do next. But post side decking, if you're just so scared of certain cards, you just get Crescendo. And then next up for siding, Pank, Droll. Droll's for, like, Dragon Link and Dinos. Those decks are really good against this deck. Like, it's very risky because if you win the dice roll, they still have really good hand traps that can stop your combo. So, like, even if you win the dice roll, you're more likely to lose than versus if they lost the dice roll and they had to go first. Because I personally believe that Dragon Links and Dinos play through hand traps better than Orcust can. As much as I like Orcust, I can't be biased and, like, lie to you guys. This deck can't play through interruptions as consistently or frequently as Dinos and Dragon Links and the other top tier decks do. So, like, that's why Droll's really important, because it's a hand trap that they more than likely, unless you, like, Droll them on Chaos Space and they Gamma you, it's harder for them to play around, and those decks do add a lot, and you really need that, like, because when you win the dice roll, it's like, it's still risky, but when you lose the dice roll, it's probably going to be twice as hard. It's a really uphill battle. You absolutely need your extra deck. Buster Lock just cripples so much about Orcust, like, it's so hard to play. like Orcust without your extra deck. It's just like it's unreal. So like Joel's really important because that's one of your weaker matchups. Droplets makes things like a lot easier too, because like don't forget that Nightmare can like boost something by plus 800. So Girsu plus Wand puts him at 26. So like Droplets could potentially out like the Buster Lock at that point, depending on whether they played around Lightning Storm or not. That's one thing. But I like this better than Dark Ruler because you can also side it in when you go first. Now, when it also gets like Orcust cards in graveyard too. Now, when people will comment stuff like Arclight or say that Droplets doesn't work, I do think that there is a certain level of ignorance when it comes to Droplets versus Arclight. Because I think a lot of people just fail to like pay attention to something that's so obvious in interaction with Droplet. Can you not just normal summon a monster and send it with Droplets? Because the best part about Droplets against combos is when you can send a monster for cost. And people will say, like an ignorant comment like, oh, Droplets doesn't work against Arclight. What are you talking about? It doesn't work against Arclight. Of course it does. Normal summon. And here's the beauty of Droplets in an Orcust deck. Cards like Scrap Recycler and Girsu, when you normal summon them and activate their effect to send, do you really think your opponent's going to negate it? They're going to think that you're trying to bait them and be like, why would I negate that? Because it's being sent to the graveyard and then it's going to get banished instead of being sent. So they'll think that you're trying to play them into talents or something like that. And so what happens is they will let it resolve because they have Arclight and they'll probably be confident. So I would just say, in my opinion, they'll let Scrap Recycler and Girsu resolve. Then you can chain Droplets and send them for cost. Send another Spell or Trap to turn off the Borload Savage. And then at that point, you can play. If you don't have another Spell and Trap, you can send them for cost alone and turn off the Arclight. And now, once like that Orcust card gets engraved, it'll be easier to play around certain cards. So Droplets is actually really strong in tandem with Recycler and Girsu. It also helps to like play around Imperm as well. So like I don't think Droplets bad against Arclight. I just think that people don't test enough before they just take somebody's like word and run with it. So like is Droplets good against Arclight? 100%. Yeah, your normal summon can do it. And like in decks like this, like decks like Invoked and stuff, where their normal summon is a starter, Droplets is even better now because your normal summon starter could already bait a negate depending on the scenario, and then chaining Droplets just makes it even stronger because you're already sending that monster from the field so it doesn't get banished. You're sending it from the field for cost, which automatically means your opponent cannot respond with any of their monster negators. So Droplets is really good. Feather Duster, Lightning Storm. That's why I said I like it over Dark Ruler. It's just more versatile. And you can still OTK with it. So, like, when you compare Droplets to Dark Ruler, there's strengths that each one has that the other doesn't have. But in the terms of flexibility, I think Droplets is always going to be the superior card every single time. Because you can also make Droplets unable to be responded to at all. Because you can send Spell Trap and Monster, and now it just can't be negated. You would have to chain, like, you would have to activate Imperial Order in like draw phase or something, like, or have anti-spell up. But like once you flip it and send those cards for cost, there is literally nothing that can be activated in response to this card's activation, which is crazy. So like this is inevitable, but Dark Ruler can still be stopped by other cards. Duster, Lightning, Evenly, Reboot, all for back row. These cards are also good against Dragon Ruler, Dragon Link. Because, like, even if you're just hitting the Buster Lock alone, that means you can actually play Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is important. So, like, when you play against Dragon Link, when it comes down to it, you have to side out, like, some bricky cards. You have to be like, alright, I know Scrap Recycler's good, but I'm going second. Against a really good deck, I can't afford to draw bricks. So you'll cut out Golem, you'll cut out Rosenix. You know, you might want to cut out, like, Verde. I mean, not Verde, but the Red Eyes package. You will start cutting down on some of your bricky cards. You'll cut out on like Fog Blades, you'll take the rank up out, you know, you'll take so many cards out, you'll take out Einset, you'll take out like one return, and you'll start putting in like Haymakers like Droll, Droplets, Pankratops, Evenly, Lightning Storm, etc. First, for the extra, I played Dragoon, Double Ding, and VFD. These are the big Haymakers like that you use on your opponent's turn. Barricade Blocker is actually really good. I definitely recommend if you have space, play him. He comes up quite a few times where you just need cards engraved, like desperately. And then you have two Gals, one Leap, one Link Cross, Link Kriebel, Verde, Scrap Wyvern, Rusty. And instead of access code, even though I do play like an Earth, a Light, and then the rest are Darks, access code is just not that strong in Orcust for me right now. Because it's not just about the pops, it's just like he's not that good of a game ender for this deck. Because like unless you could get 3 to 4 pops, he's not going to be that strong. And I don't even play Link 3s at that. So now I really won't get like his best effect because like I don't play Unicorn or IP Masquerena anymore. I feel like those plays were before you were able to do Rusty via Ding. I think Rusty and Ding Girsu via Babel is almost better than IP and a Unicorn because you get a send and a pop versus just one shuffle and a discard for cost. If you get what I'm saying. So like IP via Unicorn is not that good. The only time IP would be higher ceiling is if you use IP and leave to then summon the Unicorn. Or you can IP in the Zeraboros, which is another cool thing you could do. But like so comparing Zeraboros to Access Code, Zeraboros can out more than Access Code can out, and Zeraboros is easier to play in this deck, and it's an interruption that you can use against your opponent via Babel. And if that wasn't enough, it can have more attack than Access Code, and on top of that, if that still wasn't enough, it outs cards that Access Code can't out. So like everything about this card is just better. It's a better game ender. It's easier to like use in general, and like on top of that, like it's a board wipe. It's really strong against Eldritch. And then I play Union Carrier. This can turn really awkward hands where like you can just Union Carrier pointing to a danger, equip an Orcust card, and you can go off. Also, I'm still kind of debating. You could cite the Buster Lock. Like, you could cut a card and put the Buster Lock because you do play Carrier. And sometimes you can combo. Like, Scrap Recycler can get you access to Union Carrier, which is like super duper crucial. Because you just get so many monsters with like the same attribute, etc. When you have a card to pop, you can keep Wyvern up. Then you have like Wyvern and Leeb, and you have the Scrap Golem, and also the Scrap Recycler. So it's even easier to make Union Carrier. So like I don't know, you might want to consider Buster Lock, but I think Union Carrier is very worth playing because it makes awkward hands more like playable. This is also why like playing more dangers could be validated because now random hands where you just have like extenders but no starters, you can just make all your extenders into like Union Carrier, targeting a dark monster, and then you equip an Orcust. That was also a similar mindset I had in my Orcust Thunder Dragon deck, where I would summon 2 darks, equip, summon Union Carrier, and use him to target a dark to equip either Orcust Nightmare or Thunder Dragon Roar or Thunder Dragon Dark, and then link that monster off to get them engraved and trigger effects. So I just think Union Carrier is definitely worth playing. And that is my Orcust deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys learned from this too. You know, Orcust are a really good deck. I do think that they're worth trying out if you're a fan of that. But like, you know, I think Salads kind of took, you know, like the spotlight the Orc is supposed to get, if you ask me. But I'm going to say a prayer, and then that's going to end the video. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Lord Jesus Christ. Thy kingdom come, thank you, Lord Jesus, and thy will be done on earth just as it is in heaven. Please give us this day our daily bread, Lord, and please forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, Father, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the glory, and the power forever. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, I pray. And I rebuke any demonic influence. I rebuke you, Satan, and I rebuke all your forces. Anything that comes against Christ, anything that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, I rebuke it in the name of Jesus. And I declare peace, and I speak life into all matters of God, into all things that He's called us to do in Jesus' name. Amen. Peace.